Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I am sharing 3 more of my Yiayia'S recipes with you from her recipe box. I have a main dish, a side dish, which could also be a main dish, and another dessert recipe. All 3 of them were amazing, so I cannot wait to share them with you. The first recipe is for this fiery Cajun shrimp, and oh my goodness, this was so delicious. Here is the recipe. You can see that it was clipped out of a newspaper back in 1986, but it's for a lot of people. It says 8 to 10 people, so I did cut this recipe down quite a bit. So I just started out by melting 1 stick of butter in the microwave, and then while that was melting, I went ahead and minced up a couple of cloves of garlic. Now, while I did cut this recipe down, I did not really cut the garlic down as much as I should have because I love garlic. So I always say measure the garlic with your heart, and that is definitely what I did here, but you just want to give that a fine mince. Now this recipe reminded me of her baked shrimp scampi recipe, which is the very first video I ever put on my channel. So definitely check that one out because that is a definite must-make recipe. But after I had the garlic minced, I went ahead and sliced up half of a lemon to put some slices on the top of the shrimp per the recipe. And then I used the other half later on just for the juice. But once my butter was melted, I just went ahead and added in the Worcestershire sauce, a little splash of hot sauce. You can do that to your taste preference. And then went in with some salt and some pepper. Now the recipe calls for ground rosemary, and I just had like regular dried rosemary, so my pieces were a little bit bigger, but still same flavor profile there. And then went ahead and squeezed in that other half of the lemon juice. And then you're going to add your garlic into that mixture and give it a good stir. And then what you're going to do is just take your baking dish. So for the amount of shrimp that I was making, I love to do this in a pie plate. It fits perfectly for us. So I just went ahead and added about half of that butter mixture to the bottom, spread it around. And then you're going to go ahead and place your shrimp. You want it to be, well, I used peeled and deveined. The recipe, you obviously want deveined, but it didn't say that you had to peel it, but that's just my personal preference. So I went ahead and peeled the shrimp. So you just want to add that in, and then you're going to top it with the rest of the butter mixture. And at this point, I just popped it in the fridge and waited until we were ready to cook it. This holds up so well, so it's perfect for like a dinner party. After I took it out, I went ahead and just like topped it with the lemon slices and then popped that in the oven at 400 degrees for about 10 minutes. The next recipe in today's video is for this fettuccine with a blue cheese sauce. Now, the only change I made to this recipe is I used gorgonzola instead of blue cheese based on my personal preference. So you can use either or. This is basically like an Alfredo, but instead of using Parmesan cheese, you're going to use the gorgonzola or the blue cheese. And oh my goodness, if you like gorgonzola or blue cheese, you have to make this recipe. It is so quick and easy, only uses a few ingredients, and it is out of this world. So I'm just going to start out by melting some butter. Now I did cut this recipe in half. So I'm just going to start out with a couple tablespoons of butter, melt that down. You want to allow the butter to start to get brown. Then you're going to add your cream in, whisk that together, and let it cook until like the cream on the sides of the pan starts to brown a little bit. It helps to just like thicken it up and let it reduce down a little bit before you go in with the cheese. So once that's thickened up a little bit, you're going to go in with either the blue cheese or gorgonzola, whatever you prefer, and then whisk that together until it is nice and smooth. And the recipe calls for fresh parsley, but I didn't have any on hand, so I just used dried parsley. So whatever you have, you can use here. And that's it. You're just going to season to taste with a little bit of salt and pepper. Now the blue cheese or gorgonzola can be a little bit salty, so just watch that and, judge the salt and pepper based on your taste preference there. And then you're just going to add in fettuccine, or the recipe says egg noodles. So whatever you have on hand or whatever you prefer, toss it together, and then you are ready for the most wonderful pasta dish you've ever had. And I almost forgot to mention, once you're finished here, you want to reserve some of the blue cheese or the gorgonzola to put on top at the end. So that's what I did, and it added a little bit more of the parsley, and then again, ready to serve. Now, for the dessert option this week in her recipe box, it is called toffee sheets. I think that's what it says. But this is amazing, only uses a few ingredients, could not be easier to make, and I'm telling you, everyone's going to love this. So you're just gonna start out by adding some softened butter into a bowl, and then you're gonna add brown sugar into it. And my brown sugar had gotten stiff, so I Googled it and I went ahead and put it into a bowl with a damp paper towel on top for about like 20 seconds at a time, and it softened right up. So just a little tip, if your brown sugar gets hard on you, it works really, really well. But you wanna just cream those two together until everything's incorporated and the sugar starts to dissolve into the butter. And then once that happens, you're going to add in 1 egg yolk, which is a little bit different for a dessert recipe. Typically it's a whole egg, but it's just the yolk, and then a little bit of vanilla extract. Again, mix that together until it's well combined. And then we're going to go in with a couple cups of flour. And this is basically making like a shortbread kind of a crust for this toffee sheet recipe, but it's a soft shortbread. So it is chewy. It is not dry. I won't use the M word again. It's just absolutely amazing. I highly recommend this recipe. I actually surprised my parents with this. They were out of town, so I went ahead and made it. When they came back in town, they had this waiting for them at home, and they loved it, and my brothers loved it too. But you're just going to combine everything together. It's kind of like a drier crumb mixture, but it does like pack down. Just make sure to scrape your bowl, mix it well together. And then I just popped it into a 13 by 9 pan. Now her recipe called for a 10 by 15. That's not something I have. So I used the 13 by 9. I did spray it with some nonstick spray. And then I just put that dough into the bottom of the pan. And then I used my hands, because it's for my family, clean hands, and just pressed it out. And then you're going to bake that in the oven at 350. Now her recipe says 15 to 20 minutes. Mine took more, about like 25 to 30. I just cooked it until it was nice and golden brown. And then instead of using the 2 large Hershey bars, I just used some chocolate chips. I melted those in the microwave. And then once the shortbread crust came out of the oven, I topped it with the melted chocolate chips, spread that out evenly, and then you're going to add chopped nuts. You can use whatever your favorite is. I did a combination of walnuts and almonds because that's what I had in my kitchen already, and I just kind of ground them up in my little food processor, but you could chop them if you prefer. You just want to be like smaller pieces for those. So you're just going to top that and then let everything cool, and then you can slice these into bars and they're ready to serve. And I am telling you, everyone is going to love this recipe, and they're never going to know how simple it is to make because it is just that good. I really hope that you enjoyed the recipes in today's video. Make sure that you subscribe if you haven't done so already so you don't miss out on any future recipes. And this is Sophie, by the way, our newest pup. So she just wanted to say hi and make a little appearance here. But we're gonna go outside and play now. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.